Hello guys, once again it's Matt and today we have another video. Thank you all the members, all the Patreons, make sure to subscribe and let's get into it guys. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the Sea Harrier, but more specifically the FA2 Sea Harrier. If you don't know, something might be coming for the UK in the probably next patch or the couple of next patches. And of course I already did some videos talking about the possibilities. One of them is something like the Autofighter. The second possibility would be something like, I don't know, maybe a Gripen. That would be very weird, but at the same time kind of cool. You know, it would be very competitive, I think, for South Africa and stuff. And the third option is with what I think is the most likely one that is added, right? Modifications of aircraft that are already added to the game with some improvements. One of them is the Tornado F3 that can receive obviously M120s and stuff from the 90s. And also the second one would be the Sea Harrier FA2, the most advanced British Sea Harrier ever built. I'm gonna put some photos of it, and it is basically the same aircraft as the FRS1 that we have in game, that you see me flying on the matches behind it. And it is, you know, an evolution of the old Harriers. It's an evolution that it's even called the Harrier 2 sometimes, right? So it is basically the same platform but with many upgrades. I'm not gonna talk about the upgrades from the original Harriers, but we're going to talk about what differs from the FRS1 that we have in game to the FA2 and how effective I think it would be. So the first thing that we need to talk about is that basically on the aircraft side of things, on the performance, everything like that, it is pretty much the same. The only main difference between the FRS1 and the FA2 would be the increase in power, in thrust, right? The Pegasus Mark 106 was added and it produces a little bit more power, but I think where everything shines is on the weapons and sensors kind of things. Due to the improved engine, it actually has a bigger max takeoff weight, making it a little bit stronger on the amount of actual ordinances that it can actually take from the FRS1. Okay, so this is already a good thing. And then we talk about the main thing, the Blue Vixen. So the Blue Vixen is the radar on the FA2, and it made it possible to use the M120 AMRAAM. So that would be the main thing about this aircraft. It would be a Sea Harrier that we have in game with a little bit more power and the ability to carry the powerful M120. Of course, it would still lack on the sense of performance itself compared to other aircraft that will carry these Fox 3 missiles from the 90s. You know, it's not a 4th generation jet, right? But it's still good enough. And I think there is a very interesting thing about the Blue Vixen, that it was introduced in the 1990s, right? And it has medium, high, and low PRFs, uses I-band, and the most important thing is that it is a pulse Doppler radar that uses its basically digital nature to actually have ground modes as well. So not only you could actually use for finding aircraft flying lower than you, since it's a pulse Doppler radar, and you can actually fire radar missiles on them, you know, with this look down radar, something that the FRS1 doesn't have. You would also be able to detect ships and other stuff like that, mapping the ground and stuff. So it's very similar to something like the F-18. It was considered one of the most advanced NATO radars at the time, at least pulse Doppler, right? And it was pretty interesting because it was used as a base to actually be developing the captor radar on the Eurofighter Typhoon, right? So it is a very interesting technology, and I think it's just for the sake of the radar itself, it would already be plenty. Okay, of course, it could also carry, you know, A9s and radar guided missiles, as I said. but also the Sea Eagle missile and some other air-to-ground weaponry, right? And how, I mean, that would be basically what it is. So just to wrap it up, it would be a Harrier, a Sea Harrier that we have in game with more power, more ordnance, and an incredible radar that would be able to maintain this aircraft in the BVR arena at least a little bit. Of course, you know, as I said, the performance wasn't, it's not gonna be like magical and destroy all the 4th gens, but at least it would have the missiles to try to get people from a little bit further away, right? Even if you don't put the missile in the perfect condition, and due to that, because you can climb as much as other aircraft or accelerate as much as other aircraft, you still would have a very powerful missile that, although having less range, would have a very deadly effect, right? Being a Fox 3 missile, no, doesn't matter how it's implemented, it's just going to be a powerful missile, right? So, yeah, how would it perform? I mean, I think it would be just a stopgap. I gotta be honest, even though I love this thing, from what I already said, it's kind of obvious that this aircraft, you shouldn't expect it to be almighty powerful and OP, or, you know, just meta in general. It's going to be one of those aircraft that have the ability to actually destroy a lot of targets, and if you play it correctly, and of course it would be probably a very high BR aircraft, can beat teams. But in a general sense, it would be limited, not having a lot of reach or a lot of capability to actually choose the target that you want to fire. That's the problem with slow aircraft, okay? It doesn't matter if it's in tier 1 or tier 8, a slow aircraft will always be more on the defensive side than a fast aircraft. That's why I always choose faster aircraft than slow aircraft, even if the maneuverability is compromised, because you always have a little bit more of an advantage choosing when to attack targets. And that's where I think the FA2 would lack. You know, it would have the missiles, the radar, the weapon systems, everything from a 4th gen that is already a top tier aircraft. But the lack of speed and even the lack of turning capability would mean that it would be more of a support aircraft that can get people by surprise or by pure skill, you know, than an aircraft that can dominate easily with any players, in any player's hands, right? So that's where I think the FA2 is going to be, even though I'm really excited to see that aircraft in the game. But anyway, let me know in the comments what do you think about the Harrier FA2. Is it going to be competitive? Let me know in the comments, and bye.